podcast time. As always, I put a shout out on the community tab asking for some questions, and as always, you lot did not disappoint. To the point that some of the questions that I was asked, I'm actually going to make standalone videos around. So if I don't answer your question today, it's because it's in a list. I'm going to be answering some questions like, what are the things about Shopify that I don't like? Spoiler alert, it's a short list. The cost comparison from Etsy to Shopify. And I'm also going to be talking about the challenges of transitioning from Etsy to Shopify, and also this channel and what's happened in the 3 months since I made a video where I rather dramatically wondered out loud if I was about to break my channel. Have I broken my channel? Am I in the process of breaking my channel? Stick around, we're going to chat. But before we do that, I would like to introduce you to a viewer called Janelle. Hiya. Janelle says, Kim, I do believe you promised us an episode with your hubby. Just saying. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Well remembered, because I had forgotten. Making an episode with Dan. Do I want to unleash him on this channel? That would break it. That could break it. I have spoken to him again. He also had forgotten about it. He also is still up for it. So as soon as I can think of something that we can talk about, a topic or you know, some angle, then I'll get it done. Maybe it will be the next podcast episode, who knows. If you have any ideas, as always, let me know. But for now, let's jump into the questions for today. Okay, Steph, we're going to start with yours. How about a cost comparison, Etsy versus Shopify? It may be a bit too early to tell, but I'd be keen to hear what you think. Okay. It is a bit early. I only launched my website, well, it's a soft launch to UK only customers a few weeks back, and then opened it up to international, or specifically US and Canadian customers again in the last week or so. So yeah, very, very early days. Also, it's frustratingly hard to answer this in such a way that gives you a one-size-fits-all answer, because my experience is probably not going to be the same as someone else's, but I'll do my best. Okay, so in short, what I have discovered is that Etsy is the cheaper option up to a point. So if you are only making a little amount each month, and you're not making consistent sales perhaps, Shopify would be expensive because it works differently to Etsy. Etsy, you pay a listing fee and you don't then pay any other fees unless you make a sale, and only on what you sell. So if you're only making 1 or 2 sales every now and again, that's definitely going to be cheaper than signing up to a website where you have to pay £20 a month, for example, which is what I have to pay for Shopify, by the by. And that is before I sell anything. That being said, once you have reached that point, Shopify wins hands down, because the more you sell on Etsy, those fees, they do start to add up. I'm not including paying for ads. I'm not including offsite ads. I'm not including any of the bells and whistles that you don't need. I'm just talking about the listing fees and all of the miscellaneous fees that come with a sale. The more you sell on Etsy and the more money you make, it starts to increase pretty bloody quickly. Shopify, yes, it has its fees and the £20 a month thing, but it's just less. You just bring home a little bit more than you would if you were to sell the same amount on Etsy once you hit a certain point. Although I should point out, the amount that you spend on Shopify fees can also increase depending on how many apps that you have running. They're like plugins, I guess. I have a few, but they're free, so I'm not paying anything extra. But there are other apps that you can have that can do weird bells and whistles things, and you might have to pay extra for those per month, or maybe a one-off fee. That's not necessarily Shopify though, that's the apps, but it's just worth bearing in mind. Like I said, I don't have any. They're not mandatory. They are the added bells and whistles. Now, I have touched on this in a previous video. I need to say it again, and I would like you to listen, because this is going to be important if you're thinking about having a website. If you are making consistent sales on Etsy, not through ads and not through work that you're doing yourself, if these are like organic organic sales, you are going to have to pay the fees for those on top of anything that you might spend on Shopify. The reason it's been cheaper for me as well is because I knew that I was generating the sales that I was getting on Etsy. It was all coming from stuff that I was doing, and I was getting a little bit resentful about having to pay so much for the work that I was doing, because I'd always thought that it's okay because, Etsy brings in their organic traffic, which lead to organic sales. Only the reality didn't seem to be resulting in that so much. And I thought, I'll try switching all of my energy over to Shopify, and we'll see. We'll see how we go. And what I had expected was for all of my traffic and sales that I was generating to move over to Shopify and to get the occasional one or two from organic Etsy traffic. That didn't happen. That was the thing that I talked about in a previous video. What actually happened was that Etsy ran dry. So what I personally did was I kind of waited until the fees that I was paying consistently on Etsy each month was at the least the same amount as I would end up paying for Shopify fees. So £20 was kind of my benchmark. And every month I was paying more than that. And I thought, well, let's give this a go then. And yeah, it's been cheaper for me because all of my sales have been through Shopify. So instead of having Shopify fees and Etsy fees, I've just switched one for the other. It's important to stress that's not going to be the case for everyone. For most people, if you get a website, you're increasing the amount of fees that you're going to be spending each month. Some of it will be with your website, some of it will be with Etsy. So it's important to know where your traffic is coming from and where your sales are coming from. Are your sales coming from ads, organic, or traffic that you're bringing in? It's important to know the difference. Just something I thought I would bring up because if you're thinking about making the jump, that's going to have an impact. So in short, if you are a small business, I would start out on Etsy. See a website as something that you will be working towards if you are looking to start a business and have it running for years to come. It will be a part of your plan to scale up and grow your business. It might not be the best thing off the bat though. So I hope that helps a little bit, Steph. Cost comparison is very difficult to give an exact like for like. It is going to be different for every person. But I would say that up to a certain point, Etsy wins out, and then up to a point, Shopify every time. And I can only speak to Shopify. I can't speak to every website out there, although I would guess they would be the same, but yeah. Okay, next question. Well, it's going to have to be Mr. Lee's, isn't it? Kim, we have heard that Shopify is good at e-commerce, and maybe it's too soon, but are there things that you don't care for in using Shopify, or stuff that does not work the way you would have liked? This is interesting because if you'd asked me this question yesterday, my answer would have been very different to the answer I'm about to give you. For the simple reason, when I chose Shopify, I did so because you could link the shop to YouTube. Now, if anybody remembers my Etsy roundup videos from last year, you'll know that month in, month out, YouTube was my biggest driver of traffic. So when I found that it was possible to sync up your Shopify account with YouTube, I was like, okay, you have my attention. And it's been difficult, to say the least. And I was not able to do it. I met all of the criteria, I was doing all of the things, and I just could not do it. It would not work. It just kept telling me that it wouldn't sync up. Annoyingly, it wouldn't tell me why. So I ended up contacting Shopify. It gave me a chance to test out their customer service. And can I just say, rather unsurprisingly, they have Etsy beat. Within 2 working days, not only did I have an automatic acknowledgement of my problem with a ticket number, I also had a fix for the problem from a very helpful person, and they even went so far as to say, oh, we noticed that you've only just got started with Shopify. Should you need any extra help with that, here are some useful articles. Now, usually I would think that was just gumph and gubbins, but it wasn't automated, or at least if it was very cleverly done because it didn't sound it in reading. It seemed like an extra step that this person had gone to. And I just got the warm and fuzzies from it. So yes, Shopify customer service, so good. But I digress. They fixed the problem. And if you are watching this video on desktop, you should be able to now scroll down a little bit and you will see my products. Don't worry, I'm not selling you anything. I'm just saying they're there. Whereas yesterday, they were not. And that would have been the thing that I would have said, John. That would have been the thing about Shopify that I didn't like. But it's fixed now. So there is nothing left that I don't like about Shopify. I mean, the fee? To be honest, I think the fee is justified. So can I really include that? Not really. Oh, okay. I cannot organize my products on the product page. They just appear in the order that I list them. There you go. That's annoying. To be fair though, I don't know if that's a Shopify-wide thing or if that's just down to the template that I've chosen. So I'm being picky there. Oh, and sorry, something else just popped into my mind. I'm personally not a fan of the analytics. There's a lot of stuff there, but there's a lot of stuff that I personally don't find useful. Again, I feel mean saying that because it could be very useful to some. And even that's not a real issue because I can link the shop very easily to Google Analytics. I know it's changing, or has it already changed? I don't know. But you can still link it up, whereas you can't with Etsy. Not the new version anyway. Not a big deal. I'm kind of scraping the barrel there, looking for things. Overall though, I'm really enjoying it. Okay, and now for the last question. This one comes from Mrs. Quills, who has asked, what was the most challenging part of transitioning your shop and your YouTube? If you could go back, what would you do differently? Now I've saved this to last because, oh boy, there is so much to unpack and say here. And today is a really, really good day to answer this question because I'd always thought in my mind, back in February when I made the video about me possibly breaking my channel, I'd always had the intention of giving it 3 months and then just reviewing things and not making any decisions, just waiting to see how things were and then reviewing it, as I say. So what were the challenges with YouTube? Well, just sticking to the plan was probably the biggest challenge. Being okay with the drop off, knowing that I was going to lose subscribers and views would probably go down, and knowing that there was a very real possibility that I would break the channel to a point that would lead me to have to end it and just do something else. That was probably the biggest challenge, just knowing that there was some discomfort coming my way and being okay with that. Now, just because I know that some people are going to be curious, this is what I thought would happen. I thought there would be a sudden dip in subscribers because I was asking people to unsubscribe. Anyone who was only here for the Etsy content and the Etsy content alone, I was saying, I'm not going to be doing Etsy content week on week. So if that's what you're here for, now's your chance to jump. And I thought there'd be this like sudden drop. And then over the next 3 months, what I expected to see was a gradual trickle of people going, because I knew that people would be curious to see what came next and would watch and then realize that, oh no, I meant it, get bored and then trickle off. And then what I was hoping by the end of the 3-month mark was to see my my channel stabilize and maybe the plateau, just to stop losing people and just to plateau a little bit. I've done, touch wood, a little better than I had hoped. So yes, there was that initial dip, and then yes, there was the initial trickle off. But again, touch wood, over the last few weeks, I appear to have started growing again, albeit very, very slowly, very slowly. And that's been interesting because to look at the subscriber number, you'd be forgiven for thinking that I just stopped growing. But it's more a case of some people are choosing to leave and then some people are coming in. And what's happening is that they were cancelling each other out and now more people are joining than leaving, which is amazing. And I love you all. Thank you so much for joining this nonsense. It does suggest to me that this channel in its new direction, if you're listening, I am being confused with words for a change. It has potential. This new direction that I'm going in has potential. So I just need to stick with it and just keep going. And I think gradually, slowly but surely, YouTube is figuring out what this channel's about now and is helping to send it out to people who might be interested in it. Whereas before they were sending it out to my old demographic, which was sort of like hard Etsy content consumers, and it was falling flat because it wasn't about Etsy. Now I should point out there is going to be Etsy content in. As this video proves, I still talk about it because I'm still on there. It's going to come up. But it was the making every single video all about it. Whereas now it's more of a mix of the website, mailing lists, just the behind the scenes stuff. It's not just Etsy related. I feel like I've got room to breathe now. And I don't have to sit down every week and think, what can I say about Etsy that hasn't already been said 1,000 times? Now, this is not a dig at anybody who makes Etsy content, because if you enjoy it, why wouldn't you? But I think if you're like me and you're doing it and you don't really enjoy it, why are you? That was the thing I was in. I want to talk about Etsy when I want to talk about Etsy, not just to make a video and get a video out. That's not what I came here for, and that's what I had started to feel. I was starting to feel like I had headed in that direction and had gone in that direction. My fault, nobody else's. So I'm just, bringing my ship back on track. That's mixing up two very different metaphors. We shall move on. So yeah, that's what I thought would happen with the channel. This is what's happening. I'm chuffed to bits that what I assumed would happen did. It seems to suggest that I know my channel fairly well, which is good to know. I'm pleasantly surprised by the gentle uptick again, because I wasn't expecting to see that yet. Have I broken my channel? No. Am I in the process of breaking my channel? I don't think so. I'm going to give it another 3 months and we shall see. I think if things carry on the way they are, what I'll see is more growth, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to making more studio vlogs and behind the scenes stuff, and just talking about other things like building a community, a mailing list, stuff like that. So would I go and do anything differently? No, not with regards to the channel, other than maybe to go back to my past self and give myself a bit of a hug, because that video, when I sat down and made it, I was feeling very vulnerable, and hitting post on that video was hard, and I I really had to fight the urge to delete it for a good week or so. The support I got from you guys was off the scale. So yes, when I tell you that community means so much more than just, sales, that, I have no idea what that noise was, but I'm just trying to make my point. Okay, now we get to the transition from the Etsy shop to the YouTube shop. What have been the challenges, and would I do something different? Well, there has been challenges, and yes, I would do stuff differently. Let's get into that. Okay, well first, I don't regret it. I want to say that right off the bat. What were the challenges? Well, the first one was self-induced, and I made things a lot harder for myself than they needed to be. Does anybody remember the video where I was like, I'm going to build my website in 1 day? Yeah, I know. I wouldn't have done that. I would have given myself a lot more time to build it. I personally can't work on my website for more than 2 or 3 hours at a time. 2 hours is comfortable, 3 hours is pushing it. So I would have taken that into consideration, and I would have given myself a lot of time to just do little bits, because I've spoken before about the painfulness of building a website. It's painful sometimes because you might have one task in mind and you know where you want to be, but you have to start there and reverse engineer back to where you are. And some of the steps are going to involve things that you don't know how to do. So you're going to have to figure out how to do them before you can move on to the next one. It also weirdly involved a lot of different accounts on different parts of the internet and remembering a lot of passwords that I couldn't remember. So sometimes just linking up, for example, my website with my Royal Mail account, and then not being able to remember my login details. So that became a job before I could even do the linking. Oh, gosh. Yes, if I could go back and do anything differently, I'd give myself more time. But I have said that in the past, so that would be the first piece of advice I'd give to anyone. Don't try and be clever and do what I did and try it all in one day. It's just, no. Even if you know how, that would still be a massive amount of work. Don't do it. And the other thing, I would give myself more time to link my website with YouTube. When I say website, I'm referring to my Shopify shop. I didn't realize that was going to be such a big deal. Bearing in mind that I had launched my recent collection, when did I do that? Was that a week and a half ago? It's fairly recent. But a big part of that launch was going to be this linking, and I was going to even post a video saying, hey, you can see the products that I'm launching. They're down below if you're interested. And I couldn't do that because it wasn't linked and I had no idea why. If I'd given myself more time to figure that out, the overall launch would have gone better. And I'm talking about the collection launch here, not the website launch. So I think that's probably been the biggest challenge, is just getting all of those things done. And now realizing with hindsight that a big part of that was just giving myself enough time. I did not do that. And I've got no one to blame but myself, because I'm an impatient little what's-it and I wanted to do it all as quickly as possible. That's the only thing I would do differently there. But, you know, the website is built and it's linked with this channel and I'm there. And now that I am on the other side of it, I'm also compassionate enough to know that I couldn't have known all of that at the beginning. I can say this now with hindsight, because hindsight's a great thing, isn't it? But there's no way I could have known it from the start. If I could go back and do anything differently, it would be that. But I'm also not kicking myself for having done it, because I've learned a buttload in the process. As I say, we're in the start of May, and so far this year has been it's been a roller coaster ride, but I have learnt so much in the last 4 months. So much. Wow. But yeah, you know that I rock up here and I'm always telling you, make time for life to life, because life will life. And did I make time? No. No, I didn't. And I stressed myself out, and then life happened. Because some people may not be aware, we have been having massive internet issues here in my little corner of the world for the last 4 months. They are now fixed, I should point out. Touch wood again. But that did slow things down with the website building. And that was extra stress on top of the stress that I'd already put upon myself. Upon myself? On myself. So if I'd made more time and made space for life to life, I would have found the whole process less stressful. Probably just as frustrating, because it is a frustrating process. But I would have found it frustrating in little tiny chunks as opposed to one big I feel like I have finished a massive plan that I had set for myself at the start of this year. And it's too soon to be able to tell how I really feel about it all. But if I'm going to try, I would say that I feel upbeat and optimistic. And I've got some exciting ideas and plans for this here channel. I must admit, the last month or so, this channel and the videos that I've been making have been a little bit neglected. I've had to rush things like editing and even the videos themselves, because I was just constantly trying to finish the project bags that went up as pre-orders. So I think going forward, I would like to give a little bit more time back to this channel and maybe try out some of the ideas that I've been having over the past few weeks. Now that I've made the channel something that I can play with again, I've got some ideas that I want to experiment with. One of those being, when I first started this channel years ago, I used to set myself challenges, and I really want to do something like that again. Something where the result isn't important so much as just the journey of trying it to see what would happen either way. I feel pulled to that. I don't know what the challenge would be though, but I'm drawn to that idea. So I'm expect to see something like that in the not too distant future. Now, if you are still on the fence about whether or not now is the right time to create your own website, Shopify or other, I did actually make a video about what I learned from the whole process, warts and all. So if you're not sure that if it's the right time, give that a look. Not that I'm trying to put you off, but it might help you decide one way or another. And I'll see you next week.